Well, it's noon here on the East Coast, and this is news that you can use from YAA with your dear friends and host camping out an empty new car dealership lot.
That is the theme of today's show, Pops. It's good to be back. Enjoyed our time in New York City. Thank you for joining me there.
My pleasure. This is a terrible thing to say, so perhaps I won't say it.
Okay, great. I'm really appreciative. You
self-censoring.
Awesome. Proud of you. Got a couple things I want to cover today. First, let's kick things off with the news and the data that we got out for Q1 sales.
Well,
April sales.
Yeah.
Thank you. Beginning of Q2 sales.
Which are part of Q2, but that's besides the point.
Sales dropped 17%.
Yes.
It would be helpful for there. There we are. 17% in April, Dad. That is one of the biggest declines we've seen since you and I did the show.
Yeah, but if you read the article,
I don't like reading articles.
It is amazing how they could spin that decline into, well, this is really good news.
All right, so why is it really good news?
Well, apparently sales were up over March, and March traditionally in the past has been a stronger month than April. Okay.
Let's break it down by manufacturer really quick.
The ones that report.
Most automakers no longer release monthly sales and are excluded from this report. So Ford still reports monthly. So we've got Ford and Lincoln numbers. Their year over year for April was down 11%, 11.5% for Ford overall, 11%.
Yes.
Acura sales stat down.
Yes.
33%.
Yes, huge. And even bigger than that was Honda off 41.2%.
What does that say about the state of Honda?
It says they don't have cars, and they're really having they are suddenly becoming the Subaru cousin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that's really, really rough. Genesis sales keep growing strong. Genesis is the Subaru of old. Subaru never used to have year over year or month over month slowdowns. Genesis growing. Hyundai down 20.5%. Kia. Where's Kia? Oh, Hyundai brand. What's Hyundai brand versus Hyundai Motor America? Anyway, Kia down 15.8%, 16%. Hyundai Kia down 16.5%. Mazda only down 3.5%.
Yes, but that they had a 2 month prior to that. For the previous 2 months, they had been up.
Yeah.
So
Subaru down 25.5%. Again, can't be too surprised they don't have cars to sell.
The 11th month in a row of sales declines for Subaru.
Lexus down 17.5%. Toyota sales down 23.4%.
9 months in a row of sales declines for Toyota.
Wow. And then we've got Volvo down 9.2%. Of all of the OEMs reporting, only 7 of them. There are 32 major OEMs. 32 major OEMs here in the United States, but of the 7 that are reporting, sales are down 21.4%. This is the same story we've been talking about, unfortunately, for a long time now, Pops. This is a direct result of just not having cars on the lot.
The on-hand inventory at the end of April was less than 900,000 new cars. Okay. Now, to put that into perspective, 2 years ago, that number was close to 4 million. So 2 years ago, when things were normal, well, this was the beginning of COVID. So it was right before things went to the pooper. The average inventory across all brands on dealers' lots available for sale was right around 4 million cars. Today, they're operating on less than a quarter of that. And I know there are many who don't want to believe that there's supply chain issues or chip shortages, but there are. It is not conducive for sales to not have what it is that the people want when they want to buy it. That's not how the system really works at its best. Now, that's not to say that dealers can't leverage this situation and make more money per car than they've ever made, because they can.
And we've seen that.
And that is strictly because of the law of supply and demand. If the demand is still there and the supply is very low, then the pricing of what is available goes up. Hopefully, more and more people will continue to stay out of the market. And with what the Fed did yesterday, raising interest rates by the Fed rate by 0.5 point, Well, more and more people are going to be forced out of the market because it just means that the cost of purchasing a car on time, financing it, will be going up again.
We have from our friends over at Cox Automotive implications of Fed moving rates higher and the starting quantitative tightening. We're used to hearing quantitative easing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what tightening looks like. I haven't
Well,
lived
you're
through
about to
tightening.
you're about to find out.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Yeah.
The Fed delivered on expectations today by raising the target rate for the federal funds rate by 0.5 percentage point, like you just said. The Fed did not update rate projections, but the implication of their announcement and additional commentary is that the target rate at the end of 2022 would be higher than the 1.9% target set in March, even higher.
Okay.
Following those increases in June and July, the market expects quarter-point increases in each of the remaining meetings of the year, with 5 more meetings on the calendar. That implies 175 basis points of increase on top of the 75 basis points already increased. However, Chairman Powell indicated that the committee is not actively considering any 75 basis point increases.
Yeah, so the increases in the future will be 25 to 50 basis points. That's what they're telling you.
Yep. And you've got here, the Fed is clearly, quote, highly attentive to inflation risks.
Well, I don't know why they wouldn't be.
They're not risks. They're
Yeah,
here.
Yes.
And you've got, the balance sheet, also known as quantitative tightening, begins on June 1st with a decline of $47.5 billion per month.
Wow.
So we're printing less money. Hopefully that helps with some of the
And
inflation
the reduction
problems.
will then accelerate to 95 billion per month in 3 months.
Now, the meat and potatoes here for us, let's talk about mortgages and then auto loans. The mortgage market has been far more reactive than the auto loan market. Prior to today's change, the average 30-year mortgage rate had increased by 230 basis points since the end of December.
It's 2.3%.
2.3%.
Yes.
Auto loan rates have
Basis points just sound so lovely, but
BPs, Fed, BPs.
yeah, but when you put them into percentage, then you begin to realize what it all means.
Auto loan rates have also moved higher but not by as much. Average new auto loan rates have moved up about 70 basis points year to date. Average used auto loan rates have only increased by about 75 basis points.
Well, considering the fact that the Fed has raised the rate by 75 basis points so far this year, and 50 of those basis points was yesterday. Even a quarter of a point increase has manifested itself into almost 3/4 of a point in the retail side of things.
Now, let me hit you with probably my favorite line from this analysis by Cox Automotive.
Okay.
Used vehicles have already returned to being depreciating assets in 2022. So that is one component of inflation that is already coming down.
Really? What are they looking at?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is what's frustrating about our jobs is that,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe we all look at different data. I don't know. Actually, I know we do because Cox
Yeah.
puts out the rosiest market day
Yes.
supply data possible. We weren't live on Tuesday or Wednesday. We
Yes.
apologize for that. But here is the Black Book market update. Here's what you need to know about what's going on in the used car market. Car segment up 0.38%. Truck segment down 0.02%. Overall market appreciated
Yes.
for the first time in 2 months.
A
We can look at the
while.
line 3 months.
Yeah.
Maybe the first time this year, used cars appreciated on the wholesale market last week.
Yes. And my suspicion is they will continue to do so.
Compact and subcompact cars, compact cars really leading the way up nearly a point.
Wow.
So your smaller compact cars still appreciating like crazy. Dad, last week when we looked at the, full size SUVs.
Yes.
Here you go, full size crossover and SUVs. They had been down $700, almost over 2 points
They had been down almost $1,500
over the past 2 weeks.
Over the prior 2 weeks.
Bouncing back.
Yes.
Full size crossovers and SUVs appreciated last week. Pretty much every segment, with the exception of full size luxury crossovers and
Yes.
small pickup trucks, appreciated last week. So we're starting to see the used car market do what we thought it would do, which is see how that is starting to curve back up.
Yep.
Curve back up just a little bit.
That's what it's doing.
And so the tricky thing or the issue here is that the story is still the same, unfortunately, until you fix the new car side. Used car prices, but what was the softening caused by? What do you think the softening was caused by? Because we did have 2 months, we did have 2.5 months of used car prices depreciating.
Well,
They are going to be appreciating again.
Well, the softening was caused by the fact that you were in the January and February, primarily, which are the two slowest months of the year to sell cars. And when cars are traditionally declining in value to some degree, and then they start typically to go up in value to some degree in March with the beginning of the spring selling season. And we are deep within the spring selling season now. You have your tax refunds. You have people planning vacations in the future, nicer weather, warmer temperatures. And this is when people typically come out and buy cars, new and used. Well, right now, there aren't nearly as many new cars for them to choose from. And there appears to be even less used cars for them to choose from. And so the prices of both continue to go up. The amount that consumers are forced to pay for these things continues to rise. Now, the only thing that I think will turn that around, there's two things. Stop buying cars, which we've been harping on for 6, 7, 8 months now.
Trust us, not good for business.
Yeah, so stop buying cars, or with interest rates going up, people are going to stop buying cars, not because they want to stop, but because they can no longer afford to make that purchase. If interest rates on auto loans have gone up 0.75 of a point, and that was on a 25 basis point increase by the Fed, and we just had a 50 basis point increase yesterday.
Yep.
So if you were to extrapolate that out, then we'll probably see another 75 basis point increase in new and used car loans. That adds up to a lot of money. That makes people's payments higher.
Well, especially when the amount that you're having to finance
keeps going up. So yeah, it's and there are those that have used the R word, recession.
Yeah.
That if and when we enter into a recession, maybe at that point, because interest rates are so high and people are afraid to do things, that then we will start seeing a decline in pricing in both new and used cars. But that's because the market is no longer the market that we're used to.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about. The inventory shortages aren't going to go away anytime soon.
No.
The consumer demand might go away because if you make it more expensive to finance, then maybe it goes away. But I'm really, like we've talked about before on the show, I'm really concerned about like 2025. I want to see what the heck's going to happen in 2025. That to me is kind of like the big question mark is, can anyone afford anything in 2025, or is everyone underwater in 2025? Or are used cars still appreciating because the supply chains are still struggling in 2025?
You would think because of the new vehicles that were lost to production, that were scheduled to have been produced, that were not, which will probably end up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 18 million vehicles that would have been produced, that would have been sold, that would have brought in used cars as trades. Well, with that loss, it's going to take many, 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 many years to make that back. So yeah, 2024, 2025, those could be interesting years, but they could be interesting years for any number of reasons. And one of them could be, well, because we're finally coming out of a recession.
I hope you're around for it.
Well, thank you. I do too.
Bahamian Lily asks, GM, when we were going through the sales numbers, nope.
GM does not report, although if you go to the article from Automotive News, there is a source. I don't know, GM says, according to LMC, GM said that they actually outsold Toyota last month, that they were the only manufacturer to sell more than 200,000 vehicles in the month, but nobody knows that for sure because they don't report that. I guess anybody other than LMC.
While most measurements would indicate a positive April, the industry is still being impacted by the parts shortage that has plagued sales for almost a year now. General Motors, Toyota, and Stellantis sold fewer vehicles in April than in March, and Honda sales fell more than those of any other automaker. Yet for GM, the worst seems to be behind them. What does that mean?
I'm not sure it means that they're trying to paint as rosy a picture as they can for their investors. You know, we talk about how dealership personnel are the scum of the earth and that they lie better than anybody.
Yeah.
But I think those that lie the best
Or the
are,
OEMs.
are those who run these major corporations, and they have learned to paint rosier and rosier pictures with less and less paint available to do that. So yeah, even though things are bad, they're better than we thought they would be. No, they're not. It's just PRBS to keep the value of their stock up, and one day, yeah, you get the truth.
Some people buy what they're selling. We've got here from Igor, every manufacturer across the board is down, and some even on the brink of extinction are being bought out by another legacy OEM brand. Now, we don't
Wow.
have any sources on that aside from Igor's comment here.
Yeah.
I will say, I would not be surprised if you see Lincoln go away. I would not be surprised if you see Fiat, definitely Fiat go away.
Well, Fiat
is away.
Yeah, Fiat is away in the United States, but Fiat will always be a somewhat popular
Here in the United States. So, I mean,
Yeah.
is there another brand that you think is maybe on the precipice of extinction?
I can't think of any on the top of my head, but I'm sure there's some.
Yeah.
Is Nissan going to need to be bought out by somebody again? Is Stellantis going to need to be bought out by somebody again? There never seems to be a shortage of people willing to place that bet.
Yeah.
Will Mitsubishi still be here in the future?
Yeah. I'm thinking about Chrysler Airflow right now, and when that flops, what are they going to do with the Chrysler brand? But anyway,
well, that's all part of Stellantis.
I know.
So somebody will buy them.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
there's too much there for somebody not to.
Infinity was going through my head as well. Lincoln is profitable for. I don't know how Lincoln can possibly be profitable for Ford. We were looking at how much incentive spend they put on Lincolns. It used to be like $8,000.
By the way, in that automotive news article is a breakdown of incentives.
Oh, let's go take a quick peek at that, though.
Yes.
Down here somewhere.
Yes. Keep going.
All right. Let me share the screen with everyone.
There you go.
April incentive outlays for the U.S. Okay. So BMW last year was doing $4,800 in incentives. This year, $1,700.
So they're only down $3,100.
So 65% down.
Yes.
Daimler incentives down 50%. Ford incentives down 48%. GM incentives down 56%. Honda incentives down 50%. Hyundai incentives down 76%.
Well, that's because it normally took a great deal of incentives to move Hyundais and Kias. First of all, there wasn't a lot of margin built into the cars, so there was a tremendous amount of incentives to the dealers from the manufacturer, and there used to always be a large incentive, consumer incentives from those brands. And well, with the shortages of vehicles, they don't need to spend that kind of money anymore.
We've got here Nissan down 55% in incentive spend. Stellantis only down 39% in incentive spend. Subaru down 31%. Toyota down 66% in incentive spend. Volkswagen Group down 62%.
But here's the thing that's interesting about Subaru. Even though they're down the least, their average incentive was down to $922.
Yeah.
And you have to think to yourself, why do you need to even spend the $922 when you have a 4-day supply of cars for your dealers throughout the country?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Like, why? Yeah.
Why are you spending it at all?
Yeah, exactly. We've got, okay, fine. Learning fast, you're right. Have you seen how expensive a Lincoln is? That's fair. Yeah, get like a Lincoln Navigator.
Yeah, we have. We went to the Washington Auto Show. And quite honestly, I was shocked at the price of Lincolns.
We've got Magali saying Mitsubishi could be on their way out. We've got here from Igor, Fiat, Alpha, Chrysler, and Buick are in trouble. Buick here from Intelligent Carvana. Yeah, I could see some of these brands going by the wayside. Absolutely. Like, why not? We're seeing consolidation in the dealer space. Why not see consolidation?
Well, GM used to have Saturn, and they used to have Pontiac, and they used to have Oldsmobile. So yeah, I mean, you get to the point where you just stick with your best-selling brands and be done with the rest of them.
Yeah, 100%. You really, really do. Here you go from Chris, Dad. Zach and Ray Could this be the quote great reset of car dealers and manufacturers? Seems like some weeding out is being done. Definitely, isn't it?
Well, everybody believes it's the great reset, especially when it comes to ICE vehicles and EVs. It could be part of it. But I would suggest that this was not a planned reset, because had COVID not hit, none of these manufacturers were saying to themselves, let's stop producing cars.
Yeah.
Okay. They would have kept inventory levels where they had been at. And the only thing that forced their hand was the shutdown due to COVID. So it's more of a natural disaster than a man-made one at this point.
NH 1938, wife totaled her SUV. We had to enter the market. We purchased a new compact Mazda CX-5 SUV at MSRP. Not happy. Honestly, you should be happy. That's like probably the way to do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've read in some of our comments that people are getting maybe 1 or 2% off of MSRP on certain Mazda models. It's I never thought in my lifetime that I would be able to sit here and tell people, that if you can get a car at MSRP, you're doing great. I mean, we were high-fiving and celebrating anytime at the dealership when we sold a car at MSRP, because, well, that just never happened. And now that happens every day, or that is now considered a good deal.
Yeah.
When in the past that was considered a terrible deal.
Now talk about high-fiving and attaboys in the back office. We have 2 new role play videos that just dropped. We've got Never Do This When You Buy a Car Part 1.
Yes.
My girlfriend, actually, Laura,
Yes.
going head-to-head against my dad.
Yeah.
And Part 2,
Yeah.
she schools the dealer.
My.
So watch her get a good deal and learn and see the differences between the two.
Apparently, I was old and tired.
Now, I think you may have taken it a little easy on her, but that's
perhaps
okay.
For cinematic purposes.
And also, it was a 30-minute video, so we had to. Here we go from Shay.
Yeah.
Zach and Ray, my auto lease expires in August. At this point, I just want to buy out my lease, but I'm concerned about the feds having raised interest rates. Can you refer me to a reputable credit union? Not sure if the forum is probably the right place but buying out your lease right now. So Shay, go to the community forum, please.
And if I may, if you are concerned with interest rates, as well you should be, you can buy out your lease a couple months early. Typically, your lease buyout, if it's before the end of lease term, is the residual plus whatever remaining payments you have, less a little bit of interest on those payments. So if your lease expires in August, that means your last lease payment will be in July. So you have May, June, you have three payments that you would normally be making. If you are concerned with interest rates being much higher by the time you want to buy that, it might make sense to offset the increase in interest rates and buy your lease out now, as opposed to waiting the additional 90 days.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And Shay, please post in the community forum about the credit unions. We have people in our community forum that work at credit unions.
Yes, so that would be able to help you.
All right, let's run through a few of the chat messages here. Pops Little Stinker says, fuel efficient vehicles are literally the best investment right now. If you own one, take care of it like gold. Crazy times.
Yeah, I think there's some validity to that.
Absolutely, there is. We've got from Pedro, hello, unpopular buying decision despite Carvana title issues. I went with it back about 2 months ago. I just received my title in the mail yesterday.
Wow, 2 months to get a title.
We've got here from David Anderson, a used Toyota truck caught my eye. They want some $41,000 for it. It's a 2017. The sticker on it when it was new was $35,000. I sent them a message to that effect with no response.
Well, of course, but here's the sad reality. There's people out there that will pay that because there's just such a shortage of vehicles. And we all know that the dealers at the auctions are paying what those original MSRP numbers were or more to get their hands on the vehicle. Well, if they have to pay that or more for it to get their hands on it, that means they have to sell it for more than what they paid for.
Do you think the interest rate increases stifling consumer demand will offset our expected increases in used car prices as a result of the ongoing new car shortages?
It could. I mean,
you could end up in like a net neutral place where prices kind of neutralize because.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, because with the increase in interest rates, it just
Yeah.
becomes less and less affordable for more and more people. And the dealers still need to, in order for dealerships to make money,
Yeah.
they still need to sell. The whole concept is we need to sell to create more service customers. So you can't just entirely depend on service. You have to be creating new and more service customers for your service department every month. So the whole concept behind having a dealership is to sell a new car or a pre-owned car. So yeah, it might force the dealers to either keep their prices neutral where they are now, or lower them slightly as interest rates go up in order to keep people buying cars.
Magali says, what are you supposed to do if you're in the low income bracket?
That's a good question, and it's one that we ask here all the time. I don't know. Vehicles are becoming
Prohibitively expensive.
Yes, and less affordable for more and more people. We are cutting out the middle class and the lower middle class and lower class people from vehicle ownership. So if you live in a major metropolitan area, then there's some form of public transportation. If you live in a rural area where there is none, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know. I don't know how vehicles are just supposed to end up being for the elites and not for everyone else. But that seems to be the direction we're going.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
It feels that way.
Yes.
Igor says 100% there's a major cleanup going on in the auto industry. It's being flipped upside down on its head, just in terms of like consolidation, and you might lose some players both
Yes.
on the OEM side and also on the dealership side. We've
Yeah.
seen more dealership consolidation, which should be concerning, because you lose when you go from kind of like I'm not going to call it a monopoly, because it would be a duopoly, or there'd be multiple players, but like
Yes.
they're going to own the way that new cars are retailed to consumers, or you're going to see a fully vertically integrated OEM like Tesla selling directly to consumer. Just too much price power. They just have too much price power to design the system in a way that's not advantageous for the consumer in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the large groups are going to make it more and more difficult for the local mom and pops.
Oh, 100%. And they're going to come along with offers that are too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Jorge here in the chat saying, good morning, Ray and Zach. I just picked up a 2022 4Runner at MSRP. Thanks for your help in becoming a premium member. Congrats, Jorge.
Yes,
that's
very
awesome.
good. That is a big win in today's market.
That's a huge win in today's market. It reminds me, Dad, we actually just passed 1,500 dealership reviews submitted.
Very cool.
So if you have not submitted a dealership review, please do it. This is, as far as I'm aware, the largest database of crowdsourced dealer reviews. And then, of course, if you go in the top navigation, you click on dealer reviews, that's where you can then, once it loads, then you can see the map and you can interact with all those reviews and see what your fellow community members are telling you. So you can just come here. Has been reviewed. Yes. Look for a particular state. Look for a particular brand. Do they charge MSRP? No, above 3 that charge at MSRP. Great. There we go. Let me look at Rodeo Ford. There you go. So anyway, leverage and use dealer reviews. That's a great tool in your toolbox as you're navigating all this. Now, Pops.
Yes.
We are going to be live tomorrow with Miss Kimberly Klein, correct?
I would certainly hope so.
So everyone's got to tune in for Kimberly's Corner.
Yes.
I will leave. We've got 3 comments here.
Yes.
Plain Fan says, just got news from the dealer that someone backed out and that I'm next in line to buy the car. Coming next week. Been watching the recent car bang roleplay videos religiously. We did one on factory order, or one coming in as an order. Great example.
Yeah. Plain Fan, what you need to do is, if you're next in line and the car hasn't arrived yet, is go to the dealership and reach an agreement as to what the price is going to be, and make sure that you remind them that if you don't want any dealer installed accessories, that when they write the repair order, the RO, for the PDI, the pre-delivery inspection, to tell the service department not to add any dealer installed accessories. Negotiate that now before the car gets here and you're, disappointed or surprised at what they might have added.
Yeah, exactly. Please follow that advice. All right, Pops, we will be back tomorrow with Miss Kimberly Klein. So everyone, please tune in for that. We should be doing a show Saturday night. I'm looking forward to that. We had an absolute blast. Lots of good memories when we were in New York dealers. So thank you for taking the day off and being with me. I really enjoyed
Well,
that.
and thank you for that. And we had some really great Mexican food.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the name of the restaurant, but it was really good. And I would ask for help to find it again if I go back to New York.
We'll be back tomorrow, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. See you again tomorrow at noon with more news that you can use from YAA. That's noon Eastern or 9 Pacific.